Graffiti Bridge. Welcome back, everybody. This is the beginning of my big 2020 series. This is what I do most years. We're going to talk about the Graffiti Bridge 1990 Nude Tour era, and this is going to be a bit different. I can't wait to do these videos because I find every time I do an album and I do tour analysis and things, the videos get into the thousands of views, and I really need a video that's going to get into the thousands of views. So I'm going to do this one a little differently because normally, like say with Love Sexy and Parade, normally the album came first and then the tour. But what was weird about this era was in fact actually the first thing to come was actually the tour. I mean, the single Thieves in the Temple was released halfway through the Nude tour, and then the album was released near the very end of the tour. Now, some people say, oh, well, you can't really associate the Nude tour with Graffiti Bridge, but actually you can in a lot of ways because, first of all, Prince had the same band he did during the Graffiti Bridge era, and second of all, right from the very beginnings of the tour, Prince was already playing a couple of songs from Graffiti Bridge, such as The Question of You, and then later into the show he added Thieves in the Temple, which was only released as a single at the end of July 1990. And also because of Prince's look, you see here like the whole long-haired look, was very much. He was also rocking that look during the Nude tour. Now, how I'm going to structure these videos is going to be a bit different. Normally I would go into, the background to the era, then I'd go into the origins of the songs and any earlier projects, like in the case of Sign of the Times, you had all the other different albums. But in this case, it's actually I will of course discuss the origins of all the albums on Graffiti Bridge. All the songs, because some of them, first of all, have very deep roots that stretch right back into the early 1980s in some cases, and whereas other songs were basically written at the end of 1989. But the interesting thing about Graffiti Bridge is just how well it all came together, really, and also there was all the protege songs. It was definitely the last year of Prince's career where he was managing several bands, basically. And again, thanks to Prince Vault and my library of Prince books, you can see here, I've found out a lot just reading about the Nude tour, basically. And it's just really fascinating. For instance, I never knew that Sonny T and Tommy Barbarella actually got their start playing in Mavis Staples' backup band on the Nude tour, basically. And then somehow Prince must have kept an eye on them and thought, well, I want to bring those two into basically the new power generation. Another thing too is that I know last year I wasn't exactly particularly kind to Batman, saying it was a definite letdown next to Love Sexy and the albums that came before. Now, a lot of people aren't that crazy about the whole Graffiti Bridge era. The music, the era and things, but I actually am. I actually really like Graffiti Bridge, and one of my biggest regrets was that I didn't get into Prince with Graffiti Bridge. I kind of waited another year, but I was actually aware of the song Thieves in the Temple. Thieves in the Temple was a huge hit, and it was a good hit too. But I think I've been looking at a lot of the YouTube videos. A lot of people go to town over Love Sexy and Parade, and even Diamonds and Pearls, Love Symbol era, all that. But there's not that much praise for the whole Graffiti Bridge era. In reality, you could probably just say Prince's 1990, pretty much. I think one of the criticisms I get is just how Prince looked at the time. Prince had this straight, almost sort of like, extreme hair metal type hair. And he looked really, really white. Seriously. This is supposed to be a black man. Look at him. I look darker than Prince here, basically. And I have no black ancestry in me at all. But was Prince bleaching his skin white or something? Especially with this white-ass looking hair, people would think, yo, man, this man's sold out. He ain't black no more. He's trying to be white, playing this white music. But in reality, the music of this era was about as black as Prince's music got. It was getting blacker from basically Sign of the Times onwards. I think that definitely the Revolution, he was playing a lot more white pop and rock. Parade is probably the whitest album ever made, whereas I consider, Black Album be one of the blackest. And Love Sexy was really a rainbow of colours in a way, but Batman definitely had a more sort of black funk edge to it. And I think the bulk of the songs on Graffiti Bridge kind of go between it. Songs like The Question of You and Joy and Repetition don't sound very black at all. But then again, everything the time did. Thieves in the Temple sounds quite black. Definitely New Power Generation Part 2 is very black because you've got all the rapping at the end. And then as we move into Diamonds and Pearls, that's like really funky and it's got a real black feel to it. And I think another thing too, why the era is not looked at fondly by fans is because a lot of people got onto Prince during the whole Batman era, like Mr. Ants and Nightchild and most of the Peach and a couple of the Peach and Black guys, or they got in during the Diamonds and Pearls era, like me and several other people, But the only one who I can really think of who did get into Prince during the whole Graffiti Bridge era was actually Prince's friend. I remember he mentioned that someone gave him a copy of Graffiti Bridge and he really liked it, and then by the time the new album came out, it was Diamonds and Pearls time. But you don't generally hear too many people about jumping on the Prince bandwagon during the whole Graffiti Bridge era, basically. But I think it's a woefully underrated era. I've done an absolute mountain of research, especially on the Nude tour. I've just found that so fascinating because definitely, I mean, people talk about Prince's love affair with Europe. I mean, everyone talks about how great, the Parade, Sign of the Times, and Love 60 tours, and then about how great, Diamonds and Pearls tour was. But they seem to have a bit less praise for the Nude tour, and realistically, looking at the concerts, apart from Britain, Spain, and the Netherlands, it didn't actually do that well. I mean, even the Japanese weren't that plus. I mean, he did really, some of the shows in Italy barely sold at all, and even some of his German shows weren't that big a seller. But it's just fascinating. I mean, you're going to love the Nude tour video when I finally get around to it. It'll be probably the next one. But I just think Graffiti Bridge is an amazing era. I think, again, when you talk about 1990, it's definitely a different time in the world. I mean, during the 80s, I mean, Prince pretty much had the world dominated with his music. I mean, he was the sound of the 80s. I mean, by 89 with Batman, he was getting a bit tired, but at the same time, Prince was working more on the sort of techno dance scene of 88, 89. I mean, Bat Dance is really a collection of samples and actually sounds like a song from 89. But the lascivious ballads, probably, I mean, even though we all love them now, I mean, back in 1990, they were seen as a bit whack, basically. I mean, Prince is wearing these leather jackets with pleats, and he's got this perms, I mean, like this straightened hair. You mean, until today, actually, I almost end up having hair like Prince because I got my first haircut since before lockdown, so I nearly looked like Prince for this video, basically. And he had the designer stubble, and he really looked like he'd just walked out of some hair metal band, or he was one of the backing musicians to Alana Miles or something. And also, I think 1992 music changed. I mean, rap had been slowly but surely easing its way in during the late 80s, but 89, 90 was when pop rap just really took off. You had stuff like MC Hammer and Fresh Prince and Young MC and Redhead Kingpin and even Spinella Ice was popular for a brief time in 1990. And I think Prince was behind the eight ball because you had all these like 21, 22-year-old rappers, and Prince now was well over 30. And people saw him as like he's playing this like old, tired, early 80s funk, and it's so wrong because at this time Prince definitely was trying to get rap, even though there's no rap on Thieves in the Temple. I mean, this is only a basic one, but there's a long version of this which has got like Brother with a Purpose and Love Left, Love Right, and they're basically Tony M's raps, even though Tony M was hardly a good rapper. I mean, his 1990 raps were a lot better than his 92, 93 raps, basically. Prince was really trying to adjust to the trend, and I think that's another reason why people got sick of him, because like in the 80s, I mean, Prince did what he wanted. He didn't want to follow trends, but by 1990, he was desperately trying to do these trends. The Nude tour had the Free Game Boys doing their rap dancing, and people actually said rather than looking funky fresh, the talk they used back then, how people had like the bright fluoro clothes, they had the fades, and they had like the jar pendants, which were like those, those circular things with black, and they had Africa inside with Rastafarian colours, and everyone wore that sort of fake kente cloth dashiki stuff. I mean, just watch the first season episode of Fresh Prince to get what I mean. And people used to say stuff like, yo man, that stuff is hype, that's whack, it's dope, and they'd have a beat like a and they'd show black brothers with big fades with like striped fluoro colour shirts doing the Running Man and that type of stuff. And everyone would talk about being funky fresh and having great vibes and being dope and slamming beats and all that type of stuff. And you just look at the billboards of the time, and I mean, they just loved bright colours. And I mean, even Prince, I mean, look at these different types of fluoro colours you got here. People talk about fluoro and bright colours as being 80s, but it's really sort of like an 89 to 91 type thing. You had the sort of funky fresh style lettering. Another sign in the 90s was these, parental advisory, explicit lyrics. It's sort of, I would call written in a sort of like jail. This is actually subconscious elimination. It looks like jail cell lettering, because they know an album like this is probably going to be some hip hop head, listens to music. Realistically, it's quite sad is that this was a time too when Prince, who was an actor who always appealed to a multiracial audience, was now starting to get divisive groups of fans. Prince actually lost a lot of European fans during the 90s because he got too black and rappy, and even amongst the blacks, a lot of them moved out because they wanted to listen to more hard sort of gangster shit, and they considered Prince like soft old-fashioned R&B. But during the early 90s, at least, Prince's star was still high. I mean, Billboard raved about this album when it came out. It was a moderate hit. It got to number 6 on the charts, and it got to number 1 in New Zealand, actually. And it was still a hit. Prince was still at the prime of his career, and he would be at least until 1993, and then that's when he dropped off. So there you are. Are you ready to cross over onto Graffiti Bridge? And not to mention that the less satisfactory part about Graffiti Bridge was actually the absolutely abysmal movie, basically. Which, I mean, I will admit I've probably watched 3 times in my life, whereas I've probably watched Purple Rain over 100 times and Cherry Moon at least 20 times. So there you are. Graffiti Bridge is coming. Will you cross over on it today?